Just do it!
Let me just adjust my shawl. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to come on here and speak what is on my mind and what is on my heart. I am never renting again, like ever, 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 ever. I feel like rent should not have been included in inflation. I don't know why that is even a thing. That is actually like crazy to me. And sorry if I'm talking low. Like, I decided to bust out the little microphone because I wanted to make sure that you guys can hear me well, even though I'm talking low. But it is very quiet in this little city, little town. So I didn't want to be like a disturbance. Anyways, that's besides the point. I am never renting again, y'all. I mean, even seeing $1,500 for a one bedroom is very rare nowadays, which is really crazy, unless like you go to like the back country or, whatever. But it's just crazy. Like, these rent prices are just like insane. Well, I am doing gig work. That's how I support my lifestyle and save money. So I was like trying to figure out like, okay, if I were to go back to renting again, how much would I have to make on a daily basis? And I'm like, okay, well, essentially, if I were to pay like say $1,500 in rent, then I would have to make $50 every single day for 30 days to make my rent. And that is just my rent. Even if I was making an unethical amount, large amounts of money every month, I still couldn't find myself to rent. And even in that situation, I would still want to know who I'm giving my money to every month. Like, if I'm renting and I'm spending $2,000 a month, obviously that is going somewhere. It's going to someone and it's going somewhere. So the building that your apartment is in, somebody obviously owns that building, some CEO, or there's some owner of that building that has to pay the lease on that building or whatever have you, the property taxes on that building, whatever have you. And essentially you're paying for that. Like, even like the person that owns it doesn't even have to manage it half the time. Like, they could just put a manager, their salary into your rent. So essentially you're paying the manager, you're paying the janitor, you're paying all these people, you're funding the lifestyle of the person that owns this building. And meanwhile, they are out with their family, going on vacations, sleeping in while you have to wake up at 7, 8 9 a.m. every morning to go to work, okay, to a job that you don't want to go to, that's not even paying you that much. And in the event they were to like have an event, that you wouldn't even be invited. I'm so shocked at the fact that there has not been like a major revolution. And I feel like van life and people living in their cars is like part of the revolution, but I feel like it's not really revolutionary because I feel like people are more so doing it out of necessity instead of doing it like, hey, I refuse to pay rent. I'm one of those people who I'm doing it because I refuse to pay rent. Even if I can afford to, I would just rather not. I refuse to go back to renting. Like, the last time I rented an apartment with my sister, and we had like this mold problem. And mind you, we were paying $1,600 for a 2 bedroom, which isn't too bad in hindsight of things. But it was a very small apartment, very small. Walls were paper thin, and I remember we had like this mold issue. And basically, when I reached out to the management, what do they call those people? No, exact. I can't think of the name off the top of my head for right now for whatever reason. But they sent out some guy that basically manages the wellness of the building, I guess, so to speak. I didn't really get to interact with him that much, but something in my spirit kind of like felt like he wasn't really like qualified to like handle the issue, because this was like mold. Like, this was a lot of mold. And it turns out that the apartment next to us had like a very bad leak with their dishwasher and everything like that. And most of these like cheapo apartments, they would throw in the dishwasher, but the dishwasher would not work properly. And that's like been my experience with every apartment. So anyway, we had this mold problem, and this guy literally just painted over the mold. Like, it wasn't giving us issues after he painted over the mold. I guess maybe he probably treated it and painted over it, but I did not feel comfortable after that. I was like, wow, like, you guys are getting away with murder, like slumlord 101 type of thing. So I'm never going to rent ever again. Property managers and owners of these apartment buildings can put like the bare minimum into the apartment and call it luxury. and then charge you like 3 times the price. It's like actually ridiculous. And then even like places that are not very luxury, that are very like, run down, property probably built in 1904 type of thing, they will raise the rent and they won't add any new amenities, but they will raise the rent every year and it would just be trash. What are we going to do collectively? Because the homeless epidemic is kind of like a result of inflation in the housing market, but I feel like it shouldn't be because people can't afford it. It should be like people like refusing to pay those prices. Like these apartment people will literally decline your application if you don't make 2.5 or 3 times the rent, right? And a lot of people do not make 2.5 or 3 times the rent. Most people, I want to say they make at least 2 times the rent, right? But since rent has been increasing, a lot of people, especially if you work minimum wage, you are barely able to pay your rent and all the bills. After you pay your rent, maybe you have to pay your car note, or you have to pay for car maintenance, or you have to pay for, electricity, water, you have to pay for your groceries. But then when it comes down to like your groceries, you're like eating ramen noodle. And it's like, you can barely afford your ramen noodle. Like, that's scary. I can understand like if you are, well into your career, you're making an unethical amount of money and maybe you don't have any kids and you don't have a family and you're maybe older, like in your mid 30s, 40s, and you're just not about that house life because you don't want to like maintain it. You rather have like somebody else kind of maintain your apartment for you. So if something breaks, you can just call somebody and they can just come and fix it and you don't have to pay for anything. You just pay for your rent and whatever utilities. That makes sense. Okay. That makes sense. But it's just unattainable for young people. Like you're asking people to pay like $1,500 to $2,000 in rent, but you're only paying people like not even $3,000 a month after taxes. And it's doable, right? Like it's doable if you have a job during the week, like a regular 9 to 5 job during the week, and then maybe you like do gig work on the weekend to pay for your rent. That way, like your regular job, you can have a little bit of extra money. That's one way to do it. But I just feel like that's your whole week. Like, when are you going to have time to rest? Even after working a 9 to 5, it's not really a 9 to 5 because you have to wake up, you have to shower, you have to get yourself together, you have to put on your clothes, you have to wash those clothes, right, that you wear for work. Then you have to sit in traffic for at least 30 minutes. Then you have to get into work, and then your 9 to 5 starts. And then after 9 to 5, your 5 to 6 is getting home, kind of decompressing, whatever. And then you have to make yourself dinner. By the time you actually get a little bit of free time, unless you meal prep, by the time you get a little bit of free time, it's already like at least 8 o'clock. And like time goes fast, like especially after you graduate high school, like time goes super fast. So like who has the time to be like, 9 to 5ing and literally not being able to make or save any money to actually do anything with your life or make any major investments? And I feel like that is a big part of it. A lot of us are starting to educate ourselves and become more financially literate. They don't want people from the bottom to like climb their way to the top, or, climb their way out of poverty, because literally, the rich and the wealthy sustain their lifestyle off of the people in poverty, right? This is why you are going to work, and you are paying your rent, and your rent money is going to the people who own your apartment building, while they are able to go on vacation and raise their families and actually be present and actually do the things that they want to do and sustain their lifestyle, right? And you're paying for their fancy car, you're paying for their Tesla, you're paying for their house and their mortgage, you're paying for their whole entire lifestyle. And I always say this, like, in order for somebody to like have a completely sustained lifestyle without having to like essentially enslave themselves, like they will need to own at least 2 to 3 slaves, essentially. Like if you really think about it, and that's like really what America was built on. They don't know how to, you know, do a lot of the things that the working class have to learn to do, because simply they can't afford to pay somebody else to do it for them. A lot of them don't know how to do anything else outside of like making money. Sometimes all they know how to do is make money. Doing gig work is that a lot of these rich folks, these wealthy folks, they are the least tippers. Okay? They tip terribly. They don't care for the working class at all. I recently just finished rewatching the movie In Time with Justin Timberlake. I don't know what the girl's name is. I forget, but if you haven't seen the movie, your time is your currency. And my thing is like, I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, dang, like I refuse to just work to pay bills. I refuse to like work and not have anything to show for it. Even like you guys know that I'm trying to save money so that I can buy land and everything like that. That even that I'm like questioning if I should even do that, because it's not like I'm going to it's not like I necessarily own it, right? Like, and eventually when I pass on, like it'll just, kind of go back into whatever, and then somebody else will have to work for it. And don't you find that kind of weird? First of all, don't you find that kind of weird that somebody can spend a big portion of their lifetime paying off their house or buying land or building whatever, right? And essentially it's supposed to be passed down to generations, but um, research shows that it only lasts within 3 generations. And usually after the third generation, it's sold on. And, somebody else has to come along and, spend some of their time, third of their life, working to basically repurchase it. It's never like free. You like free land or whatever, because it's already bought. Like somebody has already like put in the work to work for it. You get what I'm saying? So I find that really weird. Like what kind of system is that to where somebody can spend like half their life working towards something to achieve something, and then when they pass on, if they don't have anybody to pass it on to, why isn't it just like up for grabs? Like how is it just automatically just belongs to like the state or like the government or to like the city, and they're able to kind of like take it back without having to like purchase it back? You get what I'm saying? Like, is that making sense? Like, why is that a thing? It just goes back to like, we need like the wealthy needs to keep people working and consuming, working and consuming, working and consuming. They want to be in charge of your time, because if they give you too much time to sit around and really think, right, eventually you're going to get tired of scrolling. Eventually you're going to get tired of buying stuff, right? And eventually you're going to like ask yourself the question, like, well, what am I really doing? You're going to end up in a meditative state naturally just by not having your time consumed by going to work 9 hours a day and sleeping 9 hours a day. So at that point, that's already 18 hours of your day, unless you are working a job where you're actually able to like have a mind of your own and not be like too preoccupied mentally with your job. But we already know like a lot of jobs aren't really like that. I know I said a lot in this video, but let me know what y'all think. This lifestyle that I live, it is much more than just financial freedom. It is mental freedom, because I'm actually able to sit here and like have my mind to myself and still be able to sustain a lifestyle that is still healthy. So I need to like eat like organic fruits and vegetables to kind of keep my health intact. Like I don't play about my health, because health is wealth. So I prioritize, the types of foods that I put into my body. So I'm not going to allow inflation like bring my standard of food down to like ramen noodles and freaking sugary cereal. Like I'm not doing that. I know that like there's already a movement, but it's not enough for it to just be me, right? It's not enough for it to just be a few people. It's not enough for it to just be a few thousand or a few 100,000. Like it's not enough. Like it needs to be a majority of people who want different, who want to opt out and who want different. But unfortunately, the main thing that I feel like controls people is their diet and the sugary stuff in their diet. Like I deliver groceries for a living. I see what people put into their bodies, the majority of what they put into their bodies, and a lot of it is just crap and sugar into their bodies. And I feel like it's kind of not allowing people to like think straight or at all, really. Vote with your dollar. Revolutionize with your dollar. Revolutionize with your health, and hopefully, we'll get somewhere. I also wanted to add like a hypothetical situation. I feel like the norm should not be renting. I feel like the norm should be buying land and becoming a little bit more independent of the system. I feel like that's how it should start. And I feel like every single person should have their own um, business of some sort, whether it be clothing or food or some other sort of essential type of business, mechanical skills, some of the sort. I feel like that would be very beneficial to creating kind of like a new world, a different economy. Because especially like with clothing, lots of like natural clothing is actually grown, like linen and cotton. That's stuff that can be grown that cannot really be controlled. Um, and doesn't have to be like, you don't have to like really deal with chemicals. You can literally grow cotton and you can grow linen, etc. And with that being said, it is also a lot more organic and it's a lot more healthier for you. Dealing like obviously the conversation around microplastics and how certain clothing materials can not be healthy for you. Switching to cotton and switching to like linen fabric that is organic and that can be grown and that is made out of plant fibers is a lot more healthier. But yeah, I think in a hypothetical situation, if everybody were to kind of own land, and I feel like it's a hypothetical situation because obviously, if the majority starts to go this way, and obviously the majority, it's a pyramid type of thing. So the majority is at the bottom. And if the majority starts to like, buy land and kind of be a little bit more independent, then obviously like the wealthy will just try to find ways to capitalize on that thing. Like that's already happening. Like a lot of people who try to start their businesses in 2020, et cetera, because a lot of business closed. So it's kind of like, opportunity, window of opportunity. And I've seen that myself. Like I've seen how like places like Dollar Tree and places like Walmart have like tried to capitalize on people um, basically starting their own businesses. Even Amazon. Amazon is like probably like one of the biggest culprits of doing this. Um, but I don't really have a problem with capitalism. I don't really have a problem with companies doing that. What I do have a problem with is the things that they are investing in, and are they investing in things that are for the betterment of everybody, or are they investing things that are kind of only for the betterment of them and their peers? You know what I mean? That is a problem. But um, in the hypothetical situation, if everybody were to kind of like, buy land and um, open up their own businesses with their own like little essentials for life, and stuff like that, and kind of like make them like organic, make them healthy, not like just random stuff that you're buying from China and shipping over here and reselling. Like, I'm not talking about that type of business. I'm talking about like an actual business where multiple people are like in the business of making clothing. So you can buy from multiple people and so they can sustain their own lifestyle, or maybe you can barter and trade and stuff like that. I feel like that type of community would be the most sustainable. Obviously, they'll find ways to try to stop that, but I feel like if the majority is doing it, then they're not going to be able to stop us all. That's for sure. And then on top of that, I wanted to touch on like different like brands. Like obviously, like there's only like maybe four major people that own, you know, these things, like kind of like how the FDA owns like the food industry and as well as like the medicine industry, and how they kind of like play hand in hand. If the people were to leave it up to like Kroger, or leave it up to General Mills, or leave it up to like all of these big companies to supply our food, it's like then we're going to be on the consuming end without producing anything. And so we're going to be not only dependent upon these big companies, but we're not going to be able to learn how to sustain ourselves, right? And so we like beggars can't be choosers. So if they want to put poison in our food, then we can't complain about it because we're not doing anything to be the creators. And if we are going to rely on these big companies to feed millions of people all over the planet, then it's like at that point they're going to do what they have to do to, you know, 'cause I don't think they're purposely at this point. it's hard for me to believe that they're doing it on purpose, you know, because I understand like people sell out all the time. Like, say they will have like a great organic brands going, you know, there'll be a great organic brand and then they'll sell out to like a bigger corporation or a bigger company. And that company will basically turn that organic brand and just basically cut corners, and just it would no longer be healthy anymore. Kind of like what happened with Miel products. Um, with the rosemary oil, kind of like that. You know, once you get to a big, and I don't know if that was like, I mean, nobody will ever really know if it was like actually her decision to sell for the money, or if it was kind of forced, if she was like forced to sell because she was doing so great, you know what I mean? Or if she was kind of put into like an array of unfortunate events where she felt like she needed to sell, or maybe, you know, it was growing so big to where like it was hard for her to keep up with production because like she's a small company that is actually doing well and that's actually pushing out, you know, healthy organic products to millions of people, and it's just hard to kind of keep up with production, which is why it's important for all of us to be producing essentially. So it's like you can just buy from many different people and we can all live in abundance, right? Like if everything is like organically grown and, you know, ethically made, then we can all be living in abundance and just kind of just trading with each other, because everybody will have some sort of thing that they're producing, right? And we wouldn't need to rely on General Mills or Maybelline or freaking Pantene, okay? Like, because homegirl down the street is making her own organic shampoo and conditioner that's not going to make your hair fall out, you know? But I digress. But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Um, I would like to know your perspectives, and if you have any other things, any other additional things to add, please leave them in the comment box below. And I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.